I don't know what I'm doing here, and I don't think you do either, so let's just swing into this. This musical was originally a piece of lost media, and if you know me, you know lost media is one of my passions. And the subject matter of this musical really takes me back to simpler times, so without further ado, here's Ragdolly. Our story begins in 1984 when playwright William Gibson, known for writing The Miracle Worker, took inspiration from the animated Raggedy Ann film Raggedy Ann and Andy. Ultimately deciding to stray from the saccharine plot of the source material, he took a much more approach to our character's story. The real-life Marcella, who both the animated film and musical follow, was ill with diphtheria and tragically died at the age of 14, and the real-life Raggedy Ann and Andy were faceless dolls that she found in her attic. Most stories involving Marcella tend to give her a happier ending where she survives on with her dollies. But the musical took a much darker and more realistic angle, and created a story that intrigued both adults and children in the audience. Ragdolly, which is sometimes referred to as Raggedy Ann and Andy, follows Marcella and her dolls, originally meant to comfort her in her last moments as they go on an adventure to cure her sickness at a doll hospital. Together, they run from the living embodiment of death, Dr. Doom, in hopes of getting Marcella adequate medical care. Ragdolly was met with controversy immediately upon its release per its dark subject matter. Some mothers in the audience were shocked at the departure from the subject material, with many deeming it inappropriate for their children. But despite this, the show's run continued on, with minimal publicity issues and a buzzing crowd every night. And it was even one of the first productions performed in the Soviet Union after cultural relations were renewed, which I actually do recommend further reading on, as it's very interesting. So, here's where things get a bit interesting. So, back in 2021, in the midst of the pandemic boredom that plagued all of us, then 16-year-old Gwen Gaunt discovered the original animated feature on YouTube autoplay, and quickly fell down the same rabbit hole that I have with fewer resources. Within the same day, Gaunt had created a page for a Raggedy Ann revival effort, or RARE, on Tumblr and Discord. And in true internet fashion, the project had over 20 followers by the end of the week, and soon over 100. Upon discovering Ragdolly, the group began readying a new version of the script with hopes that it can be made available to license for high school and regional theater productions, and even aspirations of a run off-Broadway. There were dual purposes in the group's efforts, with the most obvious being the intent to revive the show themselves. Their second motivation was to gather production materials for preservation, because the show was considered lost media. Building on work begun by others, the group has amassed a collection that consists of numerous variations of the script and sheet music, Gibson's journal, publicity photos, press, Russian videos, and materials. And though the group was initially told that no video footage of the productions existed, after months of searching, a copy of some early ESI-PA footage was found in the New York Public Records Library. Thanks to the group efforts, the musical is now available in full on YouTube, which, in the spirit of this essay, I'm eternally grateful for. So, did Ragdolly live up to my expectations? Short answer, no. Long answer, well, kind of. Going into this, I didn't really have any kind of expectations. I knew I was getting a musical meant for children, and I knew it wasn't at all like the animated film I grew up with. And I got basically that. The storyline wasn't horribly dark, but the knowledge of a sick child dying is a heavy concept for young minds. And this production handled it surprisingly well. Sure, it was fantastical and kind of lighthearted, but what other media intended for children features a battle against the living embodiment of death? Was it exceptionally great? No, but it wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of the humor didn't land, but a few jokes were ahead of their time.
And he's my brother. You ever had a brother? No. Don't.
Maybe the child marriage subplot was a little creepier than intended, and the Panda's character is a bit insensitive. But the story was a fresh take on beloved characters. Though I found myself bored at times, the vast majority of the production was good. Am I likely to watch it again? No. Am I biased because the subject matter is so close to my heart? Yes. But overall, I think for its time, this musical was pretty great, and at least decent for ours. Special thanks to Ivy Austin for the publication of Ragdolly in the USSR, Colin looks back for his own essay on the Raggedy Ann musicals, and Gwen Gaunt and the entire Raggedy Ann revival effort, for obvious reasons.